In this episode of the Epic Times, we will look at the global flood that killed approximately 8 to 9 million people about 450 years ago. We'll also look at lessons from the story of Noah's Ark in the Bible as they pertain to today, and we'll find out what a renowned scientist has just said about the likelihood of another such devastating flood happening again. It was during the time of Noah, the son of Lamech, who lived between 1850 and 1750 BC. It is said that there were giants in the earth in those days. The Old Testament says that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, which means that the sons of God came to earth and mated with human women. The result was a race of giants whose size and strength far exceeded those of any normal humans. At that time, mankind had become wicked in God's sight, so he decided to destroy all life on earth by a great flood. But before doing so, he chose Noah to build an ark to save 2 of every kind of animal and his family. When it was ready, Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, and their wives entered the ark together with the animals. 7 days later, the rains began. In less than 40 days, the earth was completely flooded. For 150 days, they stayed in the ark until the water receded and the mountains reappeared. Then Noah sent out a dove to see if dry land was visible anywhere. The dove returned with an olive leaf in its mouth, a sign of hope. Soon after, Noah and his family left the ark along with the animals. They built an altar and offered sacrifices to God. Pleased with this, God made a covenant with Noah and all living creatures, promising never again to destroy all life on earth by a flood. This event is now known as Noah's flood. But how did it go from a light drizzle to torrential rains? Was it really a 40-day non-stop downpour? What caused such severe flooding? Let's take a look at the science behind it. Scientists say that during the Ice Age, the average temperature of the Earth was about 5 degrees Celsius lower than it is today. The climate was relatively cold and dry, and much of the Earth's water was stored in ice sheets. However, around 12,900 years ago, there was a sudden increase in global temperatures. It only lasted for a few decades, but it was enough to melt a significant portion of the ice sheets and trigger massive floods. Scientists believe that this warming could have been caused by a volcanic eruption or the impact of a comet or asteroid. Let's take a closer look at the most accepted theory, the Younger Dryas impact theory. According to this theory, when a comet or asteroid fragmented and crashed into the Earth, it triggered a chain reaction of impacts. As each fragment struck the surface, it released large amounts of dust and gas into the atmosphere. These particles reflected sunlight back into space, causing a cooling effect that abruptly ended the Ice Age. However, these impacts also melted a huge amount of ice, leading to massive floods. A study published in 2013 estimated that the volume of water released by the melting ice was about 160 kilometers cubed, which is equivalent to 40 trillion liters. To put that into perspective, it would be like dumping more than 16 million Olympic swimming pools full of water onto the Earth. Where did all that water go? Most of it flowed into the Atlantic Ocean and raised sea levels by about 200 meters, but some of it must have flowed into the Pacific Ocean and even further inland, forming lakes that eventually evaporated and left behind vast deposits of salt. But why do we know so much about this event? It is because scientists have found evidence of it in layers of sediment dating back to 12,900 years ago. These layers contain high concentrations of microscopic particles called charcoal spherules, which are thought to have been produced by the comet or asteroid impacts. Scientists have also discovered a layer of debris in North America that contains unusually high levels of iridium, an element that is rare on Earth but common in asteroids. All this evidence supports the theory that a comet or asteroid impact triggered the Younger Dryas event, leading to the rapid melting of ice sheets and catastrophic flooding. However, it should be noted that there is still ongoing debate and research regarding the Younger Dryas impact theory and its implications. Some scientists argue that the melting of ice sheets was mainly due to natural climate variability rather than a sudden impact event. Regardless, it is clear that the Earth has experienced drastic climate change and extreme weather events in the past. And when we consider the current trend of global warming, we cannot help but wonder if history might repeat itself. Is another great flood coming? Renowned scientist Dr. David Attenborough says the answer is yes. In fact, he claims that it could happen again within our lifetime. According to him, in the Yangtze River Basin alone, there are more than 1 billion people living in areas that could be affected by future floods, similar in scale to the one that occurred in 1931. At that time, heavy rains in China led to catastrophic flooding, leaving more than 25 million people homeless and causing widespread crop failures and economic losses. Scientists predict that as the climate continues to change, extreme weather events like this will become more frequent. And with more people living in densely populated areas, the impact of these events will be even greater. In the face of this possibility, it is essential to remember the lessons from the past, particularly the story of Noah's Ark. One of the most important lessons from this story is the need to be prepared for unexpected events. Noah was warned by God about the impending flood and given instructions on how to build an ark to save himself, his family, and representatives of every kind of animal. Similarly, we should be prepared for unexpected events by having emergency plans in place and being ready to face whatever challenges may come our way. Another lesson from Noah's story is the importance of taking action despite seeming impossibilities. Building an ark was a daunting task that required immense effort, resources, and faith. Yet Noah followed God's instructions and completed the project, ultimately saving himself and his family. Likewise, when faced with seemingly impossible situations, we must take action towards a solution instead of simply lamenting the problem. Furthermore, Noah's story teaches us about the consequences of ignoring warnings. In the Bible, it is mentioned that people in Noah's time mocked and ridiculed him because of his work on the ark. They did not believe that a flood would actually occur, and therefore did not take the necessary precautions. Similarly, we should not ignore warnings or take risks lightly, as they may lead to dire consequences. Finally, the story of Noah's Ark is a reminder of the power of faith. Noah trusted in God's promise that he would protect him and his family, despite the danger they faced. Likewise, we should have faith in ourselves and our ability to overcome challenges, knowing that we are capable of achieving great things when we believe in ourselves. Although there are differences between then and now, such as the presence of advanced technology and early warning systems for natural disasters, the lessons from the story of Noah's Ark remain relevant in today's world. We should be prepared for any eventuality, take action despite seeming impossibilities, not ignore warnings, and have faith in ourselves and our ability to overcome any challenge. Moreover, the story reminds us that while humans can build impressive structures like dams and levees to control water, they are ultimately at the mercy of nature's fury. Climate change and other factors are likely to cause more extreme weather events in the future, including floods. Even the best engineering and technology cannot fully protect against such disasters. Therefore, it is essential to learn from past mistakes and be prepared for the future. The story of Noah's Ark is not just a religious tale, but a valuable source of wisdom for all humanity. By remembering its lessons, we can be better prepared to face the challenges of the future and ensure the survival of our species. So what can you do to prepare yourself and your family for an upcoming flood? First, educate yourself about flood risks in your area and the different types of floods that may occur. This knowledge will help you assess your personal risk and take appropriate measures to protect yourself. Develop a plan with your family, including evacuation routes, meeting places, and communication methods, in case you are separated. Make sure everyone knows the plan and practice it regularly, so everyone is familiar with the procedures. Prepare an emergency kit with food, water, medicine, and other essentials that will last for at least 3 days. Include items like non-perishable food, bottled water, a first aid kit, flashlights, and batteries. You should also have a battery-powered or hand-cranked radio to receive emergency broadcasts. If you live in a high-risk area, consider purchasing flood insurance, as most homeowners' insurance policies do not cover flood damage. If you have important documents like insurance policies or identification, make sure to store them in a waterproof container or safety deposit box. Regularly check and clean gutters and drains near your home to ensure proper water flow and reduce the risk of flooding. If a flood warning is issued, act quickly and follow the advice of local authorities. Do not wait until the last minute to evacuate, as floodwaters can rise rapidly and unexpectedly. If you have time, move valuable items to higher floors or elevated areas in your home. Also, turn off utilities such as electricity and gas if it is safe to do so. During a flood, stay away from floodwaters, as they may contain dangerous debris, chemicals, or sewage. Use extreme caution when walking or driving through flooded areas. and do not attempt to drive over flooded roads, as the water may be deeper than you think and could damage your vehicle. After a flood, be careful of potential hazards such as downed power lines, damaged buildings, and contaminated water. Wear protective clothing such as boots and gloves when cleaning up, and disinfect all surfaces that have come into contact with floodwater. By following these steps, you can better protect yourself and your loved ones in the event of a flood. Remember, preparation is key to staying safe in any emergency situation. Thank you for watching this episode of the Epic Times. If you liked it, please show your support. Until next time.